Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchises. At this time, we ask that you silence all cell phones and electronic devices to minimize disruptions throughout the hearing. If you have testimony you wish to submit for the record, you may do so via email at landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Once again, that is landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. At any time throughout the hearing, please do not approach the dais. We thank you for your cooperation. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a meeting of the Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchises. I am Councilmember Kevin Riley, Chair of the Subcommittee. This afternoon, I'm joined by Councilmember Shulman and Councilmember Carr. Today, we are holding a hearing on a critical initiative to make sure zoning does not slow down the city's reduction in carbon emissions and ability to achieve the goal of reducing carbon emissions by 80% by 2050. Achieving this goal is critical. We are experiencing climate change right now with recurring floods and the hottest summer on record. If we do not act now and quickly, it is only going to get much worse. As I have said with other applications, reducing the city's carbon emission is a top priority, and we can only reduce the city's carbon emissions if everyone and every single project contributes to this effort. Today we will now hear from the administration Today we will hear how the administration is doing its part by updating the zoning resolution to allow best practices that will lead to reductions in carbon emissions and allow the city to be more effectively transition to greener, cleaner energy. Before turning it over to Subcommittee Council to review the hearing procedures, I would like to note that today we are also doing a trial run at reducing paper, and I would like to thank both IT and our Legislative Document Division for assisting with this transition. The agenda and presentation for this hearing are available through the Council's website. The timing of this initiative goes perfectly with the subject of today's hearing. I would now like to turn it over to Committee Council.
Thank you, Chair. I'm William Vidal, Counsel to this subcommittee. This meeting is being held in hybrid format. Members of the public who wish to testify may testify in person or via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to testify remotely may register by visiting the New York City Council website at www.council.nyc.gov/landuse to sign up, or for those of you here in the chambers, please see one of the Sergeant-at-Arms to prepare and submit a speaker card. Members of the public may also view a live stream broadcast of this meeting at the Council's website. When you're called to testify before the subcommittee, if you are joining us remotely, you will remain muted until recognized by the chair or myself to speak. When you are recognized, your microphone will be unmuted. Please take a moment to check your devices and confirm that your mic is on before you begin speaking. We will limit public testimony to 2 minutes per witness. If you have additional testimony you would like the subcommittee to consider, or if you have written testimony you would like to submit, instead of appearing before the subcommittee, please email it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Please indicate the LU number and/or subject name in the subject line of your email. We request that witnesses joining us remotely remain in the meeting until excused by the chair, as council members may have questions. Chair Riley will now continue with today's hearing.
Thank you, Council. I will now open the public hearing on the pre-considered LU relating to the City of Yes zoning for carbon neutrality, a proposal by the administration which involves a comprehensive update to the zoning resolution to assist the pressing efforts to reduce the city's carbon emission. I would like to note that Dan Garodnick, the chair of the City Planning Commission and director of Department of City Planning, is personally here to discuss this critical proposal. Thank you, Director Garodnick, for taking the time today to come present and discuss how the city can reduce carbon footprint and transition to a cleaner energy. This is an issue of vital importance to every New Yorker and generations to come. For anyone wishing to testify on these items remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online, and you may do that now by visiting the Council's website at council.nyc.gov/landuse. And once again, for anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeants to prepare and submit a speaker's card. If you would prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do that by emailing it to us at landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Council, please call the first panel for this item.
The first panel consists of Dan Garodnick, Director of the Department of City Planning, and Niles Klingo, a Senior Planner at the Department of City Planning.
Council, please administer the affirmation.
Please raise your right hand and state your name for the record.
Dan Garodnik.
Nihilus Klingel.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this subcommittee and in your answers to all council member questions?
I do.
Thank you. For the viewing public, if you need an accessible version of this presentation, please send an email request to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. And now the applicant team may begin. Panelists, as you begin, I'll just ask you please reinstate your name and organization for the record. You may begin.
Thank you very much, Chair Riley. My name is Dan Garodnik, Director of the Department of City Planning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you today. Council members Shulman and Carr, good to see you both, as always. I am joined by Nihilus Klingel of my team, and we're supported by a variety of city agencies today to talk to you about City of Yes for carbon neutrality, which you see on the screen here. This is an important opportunity for us to update zoning regulations to help all of us meet our city's climate goals. Let's go to the next slide. City of Yes for carbon neutrality is the first of 3 projects that the Department of City Planning is developing as part of Mayor Adams' broader City of Yes initiative, charging agencies to take a hard look at outdated regulations holding New Yorkers back from investing in their homes, their businesses, and our city overall. 2 other initiatives for economic opportunity and for housing opportunity will begin more public engagement later this summer. They are distinct and independent proposals, and to avoid inundating community members and the City Council during the public review process, are being staggered the rest of this year and into next year. We will be referring economic opportunity, which is aimed at supporting small businesses and our economic recovery, later this fall. So it'll be going off to community boards and borough presidents later this fall. And of course, Mayor Adams introduced our proposal for housing opportunity about 2 weeks ago, and it just began its environmental review. We expect that will be on the council's desk come next fall, and it will start public review in the spring. Next slide. City of Yes for carbon neutrality is a citywide zoning text it's an amendment designed to remove impediments to and to help support the ongoing decarbonization of 4 key areas of our city. First, the energy grid by broadly allowing wind, solar, and storage. 2, our buildings by getting out of the way of retrofitting projects to make our city's buildings energy efficient and electrified. 3, our vehicles by supporting EV adoption, biking, e-micro-mobility, and by broadly allowing for the charging of these vehicles. 4, our solid waste and stormwater, by supporting other city efforts to grow composting and rainwater collection. All of this is in order to reduce New York City's operational carbon emissions 80% by 2050, as the chairman noted, in line with the Paris Agreement. Next slide. I am going to now briefly cover some of the history here. 10 years ago, in 2012, the department issued Zone Green, which was the first comprehensive overhaul of our zoning to support emerging green technologies like rooftop wind and solar. In the intervening years, we've also passed significant plans and set ambitious climate goals, including at the federal, state, and local level. I know you all don't need a history lesson from me about all these, but I will just say that City of Yes for carbon neutrality is complementary to these efforts and certainly necessary to help us meet our goals. Next slide. Before we get into the specifics of this policy, I do want to share for a moment how it was developed. After Mayor Adams outlined his vision for a City of Yes last March, we got to work talking to all variety of experts, stakeholders, and the public. Over the course of more than a year, we gathered input, answered public questions, and improved this proposal. This is part of how we are working to be a new and more transparent agency at the Department of City Planning. Next slide. In addition to talking with experts and the public, we've been working hand in hand with our city agency partners, some of whom are here today, and I would just like to take a moment to thank them for their efforts and their collaboration on this and so many other matters. So with that quick overview, let's go into the 4 key goals and the specific zoning changes that we're proposing today. In the next slide. The first key goal is supporting the decarbonization of our city's energy grid. To achieve a 100% renewably based grid by 2040, the city and state are developing large amounts of offshore wind and bringing in more clean hydroelectric power from upstate and Canada. This transition will need an all-hands-on-deck approach. It's going to include putting all of our rooftops to work generating energy across the city. We are today less than halfway to our goal of having 1,000 megawatts of solar installed by 2030. That gives us 7 years to more than double the amount of solar in New York City in order to meet that goal. 7 years, we need to more than double what we have now. To utilize the energy from offshore wind and from rooftop solar, our energy grid will have to become smarter and more decentralized, with resources spread throughout the city instead of limited to utility sites in outlying areas. To support this smarter, more decentralized grid, we will need to rely on energy storage, essentially large batteries which will act as the glue holding this grid of the future together. Next slide. To support the ongoing work of cleaning the grid, New York City zoning can help in 5 key ways. First, we can take a fresh look at our rooftop zoning allowances to ensure that there aren't any limitations holding us back from our solar goals. In many districts, for example, there are current limits on how much of a rooftop can be covered by solar canopies. This proposal will update those rules to ensure that a roof can be completely covered by solar panels. Second, we need to take a similar approach for our city's 8,000 plus acres of open parking areas, ensuring that zoning is updated to always allow solar canopies over parking lots. Third, if you want to generate clean energy for utility customers elsewhere in your neighborhood through the Community Solar Program, zoning considers that as a commercial use. But we need to recognize that there are large residential campuses, hospitals, schools, colleges, et cetera, in residential districts where community solar would be a great fit, and zoning needs to be updated to allow for this. Fourth, we're going to need to ensure that safe FDNY and DOB reviewed storage facilities are located where they are needed most. Energy storage is currently not allowed in the residential districts where customers need access to clean and renewable energy. Zoning needs to be updated to add specific rules for energy storage and help facilitate its rollout across the city. Finally, onshore wind faces strict limits in today's zoning without a relief valve for sites where greater heights may be appropriate. The zoning proposal will create a new tool that can be used by future applicants to submit onshore wind facilities for a public review process with the City Planning Commission. To be clear, this proposal does not change current height restrictions on wind turbines. Next. The second goal that we are seeking to support here relates to eliminating fossil fuels from our city's million-plus existing buildings, almost all of which will be around in 2050, when we need to have achieved carbon neutrality. These buildings are by far our biggest sources of carbon dioxide emissions, and to improve, we'll need to retrofit virtually every single building to retire oil or gas-powered furnaces and boilers, replace them with new highly efficient electric systems, and improve the efficiency of exterior walls, windows, and roofs to keep the heat and the cool inside. It's important to note that 2 laws adopted by the City Council as recently as 2019 and 2021 that are crucial here. For large buildings, which are defined as buildings 25,000 square feet and larger, Local Law 97 will begin to impose fines on these buildings if they do not cut their carbon emissions. Fines will begin in 2024 and will increase through 2050. Second, Local Law 154 requires that all newly constructed buildings are electrified from the get-go. Fossil fuel-based equipment will no longer be allowed in new construction. To be very clear, while our zoning changes will help us meet these standards, they are distinct laws, and the implementation of these laws are not part of the City of Yes initiative. So we've got these local laws that were passed by the council. We have our zoning proposals here, which we believe are complementary and will help to achieve the goals that previously have been set. Next slide, please. Within this context, zoning can help support the decarbonization of buildings in three key ways here. First, zoning can accommodate the increasing need for outdoor equipment, such as heat pumps, which cannot be located in building basements or cellars, to be located above the zoning height limit on building rooftops. By getting zoning out of the way, we'll give homeowners, architects, and engineers greater flexibility to navigate their best path to electrification, recognizing that will be different for different buildings. Second, zoning needs to ensure that where someone is trying to add thicker insulation or reclad the building by removing an old facade and replacing it with a new efficient one, that they don't run into zoning obstacles that prevent them from undertaking this project. Third, we need to update an existing incentive that came from the 2012 Zone Green proposal, the Zone Green wall thickness deduction, which awards a small amount of additional floor area for better than code buildings, and we need to update it to reflect the latest energy code and best practices for the future. Finally, let's talk a moment about cost. Undertaking this work will not be free, but there are billions of dollars at the federal, state, and city level available to support it. The New York City Accelerator is a program run out of the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice that can help New Yorkers connect with technical and financial support, and they, of course, are here today. Next slide. The third goal zoning is seeking to support is decarbonizing the private vehicles that New Yorkers drive and own. While we know that vehicles are far from the only way that New Yorkers get around, we will need to transition to electric vehicles, and the lack of chargers is a major obstacle to EV adoption in New York City. Addressing this need will be key to helping New Yorkers make that switch. By 2035, all new vehicles sold in the state will need to be zero emission. This will be a long-term transition, but we know that the future is electric, and more vehicles will be electric and will need places to charge. Finally, we also recognize that the future isn't simply focused on vehicles. The more trips that can be taken by bicycle, scooter, on foot, or by transit, the better for the health of our environment and our city. We'll note that animates so much of what we are proposing in our City of Yes for housing opportunity proposal to allow for growth, density in a city that's best in advantages relate to mass transit and our ability to locate people in a densely populated area. Slide 12. Within this context, zoning can help support this goal with 5 key changes on vehicles. First, we want to allow commercial charging facilities in all commercial and manufacturing districts. They are currently prohibited in about half of the city's commercial districts today. Second, allow building owners to designate a portion of their existing parking spaces to be offered up as public EV charger sharing spaces. The same rules that currently apply today for car sharing vehicles in existing parking garages or lots. We want to enable it. We want to make it a possibility. Zoning today is in the way. Third, allow for more flexible use of public parking lots, public parking garages, and commercial accessory parking facilities by allowing car rental, car sharing, commercial vehicle storage, and public EV charging within these facilities too. Fourth, expand special rules that currently only apply in Manhattan that allow for indoor automated parking facilities to be available to everyone citywide. Fifth, update parking rules to acknowledge the need of public bicycle parking and to allow bike parking in facilities in commercial districts. Finally, Our last goal here relates to reducing our city's stormwater and solid waste and helping eliminate the carbon emissions associated with both of those waste streams. Let's go to the next slide. I'm sorry, I forgot to advance you. We're on 13 now. First, we can reduce stormwater runoff by promoting greater permeability on site. This means less water flowing to energy-intensive treatment plants. Second, we can reduce the energy associated with hauling and processing garbage by reducing the amount. Up to 45% of our waste stream is organic material that doesn't need to go to landfill and can be reused within the city. Third, we can reduce the carbon emissions associated with our food by promoting more local food production on our city's rooftops. Next slide. Within this context, zoning can help contribute to a better environment in 4 key ways. First, clarifying zoning's paving rules to ensure that permeable paving, which allows water to infiltrate the soil right where it falls, is always allowed. Second, update our zoning street tree requirements to allow for new high-performance tree bed types, such as connected tree beds and rain gardens. Third, our zoning resolution doesn't even mention the words compost or recycling today. It's time to add specific rules clarifying where these uses are allowed to help these sectors have clarity and allow them to grow. Finally, rooftop greenhouses are allowed on top of non-residential buildings, but to build one, current rules require you to obtain a certification from the chair of the City Planning Commission. That's me. By streamlining this requirement, we will allow the Department of Buildings to review applications for building permits and cut costs and simplify the process for those looking to grow food on their community's rooftops. Next slide. The City Planning Commission referred this proposal for public review on April the 24th for a 60-day concurrent review by all 59 community boards, all 5 borough presidents, and all 5 borough boards, which concluded on July 3rd. Despite formal review ending on July 3rd, our team continued to work with boards well into the summer to field questions, offer presentations, and accept resolutions on the proposal. We are really pleased to have received strong support from borough presidents, with borough presidents Levine, Richards, Reynoso, and Gibson submitting recommendations of approval. In addition, the Manhattan and Bronx community boards also submitted resolutions recommending approval. 25 community boards have submitted resolutions recommending approval, with 8 recommending disapproval and 2 waiving their review. On July 26th, the City Planning Commission held a public hearing at which 32 speakers testified in favor of the proposal and 4 against. Based on this strong support, I'm very pleased to say that the City Planning Commission voted overwhelmingly to approve the proposal on September 11 by a vote of 10-1. Next slide. During the review, the Commission considered the feedback that we heard and made a few modifications on the proposal, which I will quickly review, but we're happy to go into detail on any of these if interested. You have more details on these in the slides in front of you, and the first one of them is to enhance our proposal about energy infrastructure equipment, both technical and aesthetic. Next slide. Improving our proposal on ultra-low energy buildings, where we were fixing the 2012 zone green wall thickness deduction, awarding a small amount of additional floor area for better than code buildings. We adjusted the standard in response to both practitioner and advocates' input. Next slide. Third, a number of technical edits and clarifications on accessory use, wall thickness, floor area, and permeability. Next and last slide. That's my testimony. So thank you very much for your opportunity to present this to you. Really appreciate the opportunity. Council members Nurse and Abreu, good to see you. And I look forward to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to announce that we've been joined by Councilmember Nurse and Councilmember Abreu, and I would like to turn over to Committee Counsel to make an announcement.
Yes, thank you, Chair. For the members of the public here today, I just wanted to clarify that the presentation that we just heard and saw is available online through the QR code located in the poster in the back. So all the materials relevant to this hearing is now available online, and you can access it via the QR code. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Council. I have several questions, starting with carbon capture. Before I turn it over to my colleagues who have questions as well, that need to advance environmental justice in historical marginalized neighborhoods. So environmental justice advocates have voiced concerns about carbon capture equipment and the safety surrounding the storing and transporting of captured carbon, especially in environmental justice communities who we know already experience higher health risks due to environmental factors such as poor air quality. So with that being said, I have two questions. Would this text amendment make it easier for the large-scale use of carbon capture equipment? And can you talk about how DCP considered the environmental risks of carbon capture equipment specifically for environmental justice communities?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In short, we did not focus on carbon capture equipment in this proposal, so it did not fundamentally change one way or the other the regulations for carbon capture systems across the city. When it comes to installing a carbon capture type equipment in your building, you can do it today. The proposal makes a clarification as to what qualifies as accessory mechanical equipment. A wide range of equipment serving the building's mechanical, electrical, or plumbing systems are permitted to be classified as accessory mechanical equipment. This would include a building scale carbon capture system. I will note this is new technology. It has a very limited footprint in New York City. You can put them in your building today. You could do it with the proposal. We have not made any change. And so as for environmental consequences, because we have not made any change, no new environmental review would have been triggered here.
Thank you. How will this initiative impact Mitchell-Lamas and large residential campuses' ability to comply with Local Law 97? I really wanted to ask this question because I represent the largest Mitchell-Lama in the nation, Co-op City. Currently, right now, Local Law 97 is a challenge for them. So just wanted to know how this plan will capture the ability to help those Mitchell-Lamas out.
So current zoning does not provide clear guidance at all about how to calculate accessory uses, accessory type equipment across a campus, like the one that you described, Co-op City or others. And so DOB recently clarified how to consider accessory equipment across wide campuses. We have taken DOB's approach and the need for clarification here, which apply to a variety of different accessory uses, not just decarbonization, and we have made this a change here to allow for accessory uses across an entire campus so that when a campus is looking to move toward compliance with Local Law 97 or other rules, that they have the ability to do it without zoning acting as a headache or an impediment in the process. So fundamentally for us, we wanted to make sure that zoning was out of the way, properly allowed for zoning across a campus, which defined for us is, campus is an aggregation of multiple zoning lots under a single ownership. We wanted to make sure that it was clear that you could have a facility that serves all of the zoning lots on a campus and not just the one that it is physically on. That's important clarification. Broadly, it's also important for decarbonization too.
Thank you, Chair. The administration is proposing to change the definition of accessory use, and the definition adopted by the CPC is very broad. What is the department rationale for not limiting the provision to specific uses like energy infrastructure equipment and bike parking as an example that getting us closer to achieving the goal of carbon neutrality?
Mr. Chairman, there really is it is fundamentally the same issue that you raised about Co-op City and other large campuses. This is about accessory uses on campuses more broadly. And the current zoning just does not provide guidance here about how to calculate accessory uses across a campus. And since DOB recently adopted their approach regarding trash compaction in NYCHA developments to create clarity by allowing those facilities to serve all of the zoning lots that were part of the campus for NYCHA, we wanted to clarify the zoning to reflect DOB's SMART approach. This is an important question for carbon neutrality because big campuses also have a significant role to play as it relates to our carbon reduction initiatives, and we want to make it as easy for them as possible. So that's why we put these rules in line with what the DOB is proposing for accessory uses.
Unless the definition is more tailored, then what prevents larger campuses from placing all the noxious use in one location on the edge of the campus, creating a real nuisance for neighborhood buildings?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. I'll ask if Nihilus has anything to add on this, but I will note that when you're talking about large campuses, by giving the flexibility, we believe that we're actually enabling more opportunities to spread unpopular things around in a way that allows for the better distribution across an entire campus. We don't want people to be locked in to only one choice here, and that's what zoning does today. Zoning might require exactly what you are describing because we don't have any level of flexibility. So what we want to do is to be able to enable flexible uses, enable accessory uses to be defined as serving an entire community. And today, it just requires that there be multiples, that they be everywhere, and it frankly frequently creates headaches for campuses and for residents of campuses in ways that we do not want to create. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about parking a little bit. Other cities around the country have limited parking minimums in an effort to decarbonize. Why was this not addressed in this text amendment?
Thank you for that question, and I appreciate, and we hope that the City Council will embrace what the mayor has recently proposed as it relates to mandates that exist in New York City and that other areas, as you correctly pointed out, have started to do away with on parking mandates. We have today a definition of how much parking you need to provide in every zoning district, in every building. We define it within an inch of its life from the 1961 zoning resolution in a way that, in some areas you got to provide 25% of the units with parking. Some cases it's 50%, some cases it's 100%, some cases it's 150%. And those mandates are antiquated, and we think that we should do away with them because we know that different neighborhoods are different. In some areas, you absolutely must provide parking in a new development or you're really in trouble. There are areas of the city that are not accessible to transit. You better provide parking in new developments there, or else you're not going to have the market for those units that you think that you are going to have. But what we do know also is that the mandates on parking are today conflicting directly with our ability to create housing. We are hearing from people putting up new buildings that are in transit-rich areas that are hitting their 10th unit of housing, and by the time they go to that 11th unit, they are hitting a 50% parking requirement, so they have to add 6 parking spaces. And so instead of adding that 11th unit of housing, they are stopping, and they're just not going any further. So I am giving you a much longer answer to a very simple question that you asked, but I think it's an important one, and we're going to be talking about this for the next year, which is we are proposing to eliminate those what are now arbitrary mandates and in favor of allowing a more natural flow between parking and housing in New York City. The reason it was not included in this proposal, in direct answer to your question, Mr. Chairman, was whenever you touch parking as a concept in zoning, you need to do a full environmental study. That would have added an additional 9 months to this proposal. We are doing that environmental study as part of our housing text. We included it there. It is as much a parking proposal as it is a housing proposal, so we think that that makes sense. But really important, and we really hope that the council will support it.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add to that, why doesn't this text amendment require a certain percentage of parking spaces be for electric vehicles charging?
Right. So we understand that there is an appetite to require electric vehicle parking spaces, and that is, I think, a really important conversation for us to have. I think, frankly, it's more of a conversation for the council to be thinking about through local law, or for the Department of Buildings to be thinking about through regulation as opposed to through zoning. Why is that? Well, for one, the building code can require retroactive changes. Zoning code is prospective here, so that could cover existing parking spaces. We also, we know that there's existing bills pending before the council right now, which might do some of this. Zoning is less impactful here for imposing that sort of a change. Local laws are better to make these changes over time. And I will also note that most importantly, it would really just be a prospective act. And when we're talking about the existing buildings and existing framework that we have in New York City, 90% of our buildings that are built today will be present in the year 2050. So we have to make a lot of changes to current spaces, current buildings, and a lot of that is best done through regulation and local law.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to ask one more question before I end my first round to see if any of my colleagues have any questions. We've also been joined by Chair Lewis and Councilmember Hanks virtually. The next question is about floor area definition, which kind of ties into what you were kind of saying before. Advocates have raised questions over the rule changes around what does and does not count as zoning floor area. Could you please clarify for us the different treatment of Section K and L and the intent of the Commission's modifications around the part of the text?
Yes, it's a great question. We heard about this from public testimony at the City Planning Commission about the famous paragraph K. We are not deleting paragraph K. We actually added some more targeted language here to ensure that where mechanical space is being relocated, that there are not going to be problems getting permits. We heard the concerns. We made certain changes to address this. Niles, do you want to add anything else here?
In more detail, I can explain. This is Niles Klingel, City Planning. That the changes to paragraph K that the Commission adopted when considering the application and voting on it, instead of deleting paragraph K, focused on the real core issue here has been reapportionment of mechanical space in buildings that are retrofitting and electrifying. And so the Commission adopted more targeted language explaining that where mechanical space has been exempt from the definition of floor area, it can continue to be exempt from the definition of floor area. Paragraph K should not cause that relocated mechanical space to now become floor area, which has been a real impediment in electrification projects over the last several years.
Thank you. Council, is there any council member with any questions?
Yes. And Council Member Nurse? Yeah. Oh. All right. Councilmember Carr, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Riley. Chair Garodnick, always a pleasure to see you back here in the council. I just have a few questions regarding battery energy storage systems. I think our borough president had called for, among other things, for there to be a buffer zone between these installations and residential structures and storefronts. And actually, the BP, Minority Leader Borelli, Councilmember Hanks, and I called for a 200-foot buffer a few months ago. In light of neighborhood concerns over the proliferation of these installations, really anywhere, they appear to be able to go anywhere as of right, and they're just subject to FDNY regs. So I think we're collectively a little disappointed that there's nothing that speaks to residential concerns about the proximity of these installations to their homes and to their businesses. And could you speak to that a little bit, especially in light of what happened in Warwick earlier this year with the fire that took weeks to go out?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. And we know that it is a concern to you and also to your colleagues in Staten Island, also to the borough president. We appreciate your responses and your advocacy on this point. The two things I will say here are, number one, energy storage is critically important to all of this. We can't achieve any of our goals without a comprehensive approach toward energy storage in New York City. We have dirty power plants that are powering the city today. They are primarily in certain neighborhoods which suffer the consequences the most. We need to move toward more distributed energy generation around the city. That means solar, wind, all the other opportunities that we have here. And energy storage is really, really important for that. We can't do it without it. So we start from that proposition. And one of the reasons why we did not make the change that was suggested was because we thought it was too stringent for us to be able to achieve the goals that we need to achieve. The residential concerns that we heard and that we certainly understand related primarily to safety and also aesthetics. As it relates to the aesthetics, we did make some changes in response to your advocacy and that of community boards and the borough president and your colleagues in the council. We added a full fencing requirement around these structures, all the way around. It was partially around as initially proposed. We also added a planting requirement, evergreen planting around all of these facilities. Our hope is that these are not an unpleasant experience for residential neighborhoods. We know that they're going to be present. They must be present, so we do not want them to be unsightly. So between fencing and evergreen planting, we believe that they will actually have more requirements than other structures that people find unsightly around the city today as a result of this and your advocacy.
Yeah, I think that, aesthetics is important, but I think that more it was about the safety.
Let's talk
component.
about safety then.
And
yeah.
I think that, I agree with you, these storage sites are an essential part of energy future, right? And I think that particularly as Staten Island seeks to become a hub for wind, that's particularly important, right? But it's the proximity to these structures that I think is most concerning to people, and to not accommodate that at all is kind of mystifying to me. So there has to be a balance, and right now you seem to be seeking a balance on the aesthetic component, but not on the proximity component.
I think it's an important point that you raise about safety. Fire department is here if you have a specific question for them, but I will note that these energy storage systems have never had an issue in New York City. They are subject to a rigorous regulatory review before installation. Department of Buildings, Fire Department needs to approve both the structure and, at this size, the installation. These are not systems that are put up haphazardly or in the dead of night. They are professionally installed under the direct supervision of New York City. And if the fire department were to consider anything to actually be unsafe, they would not approve it. I will note that what happened in Warwick, New York, was a system which is not approved today in New York City. And so we believe that because of the safety of these systems and also the need for these systems, and because of the extraordinarily complicated regulatory oversight for the installation of both the system and the installation, that we will be able to keep New Yorkers safe and also achieve our energy goals. But I certainly understand the concern. They're new. They're things that people have not seen significantly in New York City, but it's also a really important thing for us to move forward on.
I appreciate it, and I'm happy to discuss this further later on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Carr. Councilmember Shulman, followed by Councilmember Nurse.
Hi. So I wanted to ask a question about the building stock in terms of Local Law 97. So I don't know if this happened when you were on the council. My understanding was that co-ops and condos originally there was discussion about removing them from Local Law 97 because there's special circumstances there, and I have one of the highest number of co-ops and condos in my district. I'm supportive of Local Law 97, but when it says here about the steep fines, I want to make sure that we're talking about helping. There are a lot of older adults that live in my district that own co-ops, that this is going to be a real burden for them, and figuring out how we're going to alleviate that. Because I don't think that was the original intent to put that burden on them specifically.
I think it's an important question, and without getting into the debate here about the particular contours of Local Law 97, which this proposal does not affect, although it enables the opportunities for people to be able to comply. I will say that, you know, we want to make sure that people are making good faith efforts, not overly burdening communities or homeowners. And as our Chief Climate Officer, Rit Agarwal, frequently says, it's the Climate Mobilization Act, not the Climate Penalization Act. And so I think that there is an awareness of the challenges that people have and a desire to make this work for people. What we're trying to do here is, if you are trying to comply, we want to make it as easy as possible. Let us get the city's own rules out of the way where it's creating an impediment to you when you're trying to do this in the most effective and least costly way. Zoning today is actually a barrier between you and that good result, and so that's what this proposal is intended to do.
All right, no, thank you, I appreciate that. And I also want to join my colleague in terms of making sure that in terms of not just safety, but we, you know, are prepared in terms of the battery storage and all of that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nurse.
Thank you. Thanks for this presentation. I just wasn't prepared to ask about this, but then when the chair asked about carbon capture, my brain went off. So can you kind of talk about a little bit more in detail why this proposal doesn't just eliminate the installation of these basically false solutions, even though it's not specifically noting that in here, and we're talking about as a right for energy storage. I do want to echo the concerns that I'm a little worried that this could facilitate, you know, that kind of pathway, and just wanting to know why we wouldn't just go ahead and move forward with not allowing that to be a part of the future that we know that we need to put forward.
On the carbon capture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So I think on carbon capture, it's important to note there's sort of two different flavors. There's large-scale carbon capture that's designed to pull carbon from the atmosphere, and I would just want to emphasize this project does not support that. There are no use regulations to facilitate that in our city's manufacturing districts or anywhere. When it comes to smaller building scale systems that we have seen some initial installations in the city, those are installations that generally go in the mechanical room and siphon off the carbon emissions going into the flue. This project didn't delve into that question. It really sought to clarify a wide range of mechanical systems, primarily heat pumps, really, by clarifying that equipment that is serving the building, heating and cooling, is always clarified to be accessory. That is, of course, a definition that building scale heat pump, building scale carbon capture systems also can utilize, but it is not something that the application is seeking to support. And I would just emphasize that at the larger scale, it's absolutely not a solution that we're trying to promote.
Yeah, I would just say that I think since we have such a roadway to get to, you know, potentially voting on this, it would be worth, I think, spending some more time making sure that, you know, if there needs to be more hearings or something or research done to try to find a way to get to a consensus that actually even small and large are not part of the future we need, and just write it in there. Just a recommendation.
Okay, thank you for that. We will take a look at that. And by the way, on the subject of the real solutions here, because I think that is what we're really trying to focus on. You know, one of the things that I find most problematic about the way that we deal with energy production in New York City is by turning on very, very dirty peaker plants in New York City when we are at our peak demand. And this proposal is going to help us meaningfully support our efforts to decommission the 18 peaker plants that we have in New York City. And, you know, if we don't move the needle and if we don't enable more distributed energy generation and storage, you know, my fear here is that we will not take that opportunity. So I think that you are correct to flag the real solutions. We really want to get to that, and that's what with this broad proposal what we're aiming to do. But we will take a look at your point about carbon capture.
Exciting, and I think this is the right direction. I just, that, went off, and I think it would be a missed opportunity not to just restrict that when we can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Councilmember Nurse. Councilmember Abreu.
Thank you, Chair, and nice to see you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question with respect to the rooftop process for rooftop greenhouses. What's the current process right now to install one, and how would this proposal help alleviate that? And if you could also speak to the demand right now of rooftop greenhouse proposals and how this would help alleviate that process.
Absolutely. So on rooftop greenhouses, as part of the Zone Green Text Amendment 11 years ago, we created a tool to add rooftop greenhouses to existing non-residential buildings. Over that time period, only 2 buildings have actually approached the chair of the City Planning Commission to receive that certification and actually build out greenhouses. That's not the uptake that we were hoping for. There are a series of very limited guidelines that we are looking for in that certification process, which can easily be administered by the Department of Buildings at the time of building permitting. That process to get that certification requires a building owner to hire a land use attorney and add 3 to 6 months to come to the City Planning Commission, file all the paperwork, and get that certification. So we are taking that. It's really a common sense step to take that out of the process and make it easier and more cost effective to add greenhouses. We're hoping to see considerably more than 2 over the next 10 years.
Do you have an estimate of how many applications are before you on this?
Currently, there is, I am aware of 1 draft application to receive the certification, but under this proposal, it would be as of right.
Thank you. And by the way, I'm very encouraged by what you're proposing here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Lewis, do you have a question?
Thank you, Chair. Really quickly, if you could just elaborate a little bit more on rooftop solar, what will that process look like? Are you going to work directly with a company? Does that company have to work directly with the institution or the homeowner? Can you break that down a little bit? Thanks.
Yes. First of all, let me note that what we are trying to do here is to enable more broad use of solar on rooftops. Today we have strict limitations on the amount of rooftop that you can cover. We have a conflict between zoning and what the fire department needs on rooftops to be able to enable free access in the event of an emergency. So we want to clarify those rules to allow for more coverage of rooftops and to do it above a certain height so as to allow for emergency access. In terms of individual connection to a grid or working with a private partner, those will be determinations made by individual homeowners, individual building owners. And I will note that the city has launched a free service called the NYC Accelerator, which is designed to give advice to people about how to navigate what are frequently complicated questions about what you do, when, with whom should you partner, and how. So that is already live and available at
Accelerator.nyc.
Accelerator.nyc. And so we want to encourage people to have a look at that because it is an important service, and we recognize that this is complicated stuff for a lot of people.
All right, I quickly mentioned it and I spoke to your team about it only because the state implemented a program for solar rooftops, and one of the main companies that they were working with went belly up. So now the responsibility fell on the homeowners. So when DCP came before the community board with this particular proposal, this is one of the concerns that came up because now homeowners are now responsible. So I think that's a key factor you should try to think about before moving forward in the process. How are homeowners going to be impacted, or what support do they get through this proposal?
I think it's a really important point. It is something that we are certainly concerned about, although is something that is outside of the bounds of what we actually have the ability to do within the text of zoning. But you are absolutely correct that we want to make sure that New Yorkers are making good choices for themselves, that they don't get left holding the bag if they partner with the wrong entity. We want to make sure that we have good, honest actors out there that whose services are being amplified, that we have resources available to people who need and want to be able to take advantage of these sorts of initiatives. So everything that you are saying is completely correct. It is outside of what we have the ability to do in zoning, but I think that it's a very important question and one that we should be working across the city and with you all at the council to try to find ways to prevent what you just described from happening.
Thank you, Chair Lewis. Councilmember Carr?
Thank you, Chair Riley. Chair Grodnick, I want to turn to this question of permeability. And I see in the presentation you gave that with respect to Special Natural Area District and hillsides, which I know are subject of forthcoming deliberations between the community and city planning, that even permeable paving will count as impervious surfaces. Can you explain why that decision is the case? Like, why couldn't a person who paves a driveway with permeable asphalt not get some kind of credit for having a surface that is permeable?
Thank you very much, Councilmember. The commission modification that clarified how permeable paving is addressed in the Natural Areas District and hillsides made that change precisely because the definition of area of no disturbance in those special districts is intended to talk about areas of the property that are fully permeable or fully natural. And while permeable paving is a substantial improvement over typical asphalt, it's no substitute for grassy area, for example, which is really what that definition is trying to achieve. So we wanted to ensure, as we move into a future where permeability permeable paving is more frequently used and more frequently referred to in the zoning text, that it was really clear that these areas of no disturbance, these areas that we're hoping to keep natural, can't be fully paved over by permeable paving.
I think we should revisit that as we embark on the subsequent discussion with those particular districts, because I agree that it's not quite no disturbance, but to give it no credit whatsoever, I think you're losing the opportunity to incentivize that as opposed to doing a traditional paving. And in particular, could you address the permeability issue as it relates to the city's MS4 requirements for stormwater sewage drainage that came into effect at the beginning of last year? Was there an awareness or an assessment of that as you took this into account for this application?
There was, and I think the idea of getting partial credit for permeable paving is something that we're interested in continuing to explore. Ultimately, the installation of permeable paving has to coincide with all of your MS4 requirements. So it's something that could complement. We're hopeful that it can, with continued work and coordination, can be something that can be a mitigation.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman McCall. Thank you, council members, for your questions. I just have a few more questions, then I believe we're done. So several community boards, speaking on community boards, across the city have requested that the heights of the permitted obstruction on rooftops be lowered. Can you explain how you settled on the allowance of up to 55 feet in height? And what, if any, challenges will be associated if the maximum height is lowered?
Right, thank you very much. So starting from the proposition that we need to be able to have solar on rooftops and we need the 9 feet for the fire department, we also think that having more flexibility of what people are able to do for rooftop solar will enable some of the concerns that people have about the look and feel. Because if you can cover the entire rooftop, you actually have the ability to make decisions which today you don't have the ability to make because you have no flexibility. It's actually very much related to your question about Co-op City and campuses. By affording the flexibility, we have the ability here to allow property owners or campuses or whoever to make the choices that they actually want to make, and in those situations to allow for mitigating these sorts of concerns that we've heard from community boards. As it relates to specific heights on height allowances, you know, we're looking at mechanical equipment on top of buildings. Lots of demand for that space today, and that's only going to increase as we move to a more electric future. A lot of this stuff just can't go into a basement. It needs to breathe, it needs to be on the roof. And so we looked at how bulkhead spaces are used and it's just very clear that they need more space. So in high-density districts, where buildings are allowed to be 120 feet plus, the proposal would increase the maximum height of those facilities. Today, they're allowed 40 feet. We would up that to 55. And that extra 15 feet allows a lot of flexibility and in ways that address this core issue where today the rules make it very difficult to place this type of equipment on these structures and make it a lot harder to retrofit buildings. So that's just an example in a high-density area.
The percentage height increase that would be allowed for smaller buildings is much higher than the taller buildings. Should not the increased height allowed be related to the height of the actual building?
Right. The equipment here is, the percentage can be bigger because of the absolute size of the equipment relative to the building that it's on, and I think that's really what is the reason why that ends up being. But today, the existing allowances for bulkheads in lower density districts, they already represent a larger percentage of the permitted building height in those districts. I will note that is recognizing the physical needs for this type of equipment in those districts. We would increase it by 10 feet, so from 15 to 25, to allow for mechanical equipment to be placed on top of existing bulkheads in these areas too. So this would be a 10-foot addition for mechanical.
Thanks, Chair. Just two more questions. Can you confirm whether stacks to the extent needed as part of any new equipment for exhaust or venting would be covered by the permitted obstruction rules?
I'm going to turn to Niles on this one.
The proposal doesn't increase or add any new rules related to chimneys or stacks. They are already regulated as permitted obstructions above the height and setback in the existing zoning, and we, as part of this proposal, didn't make any changes there.
Thank you. Lastly, something I'm very excited about this proposal, you spoke about composting. And I'm not sure if you did mention this. If I'm wrong, please correct me. And gardening as well, as community gardens. Can you just go more into detail on how this proposal is going to benefit composting in communities and also benefit community gardens as well?
Yes. Well, I will start, and then I will turn to Niles to add more detail. But most importantly, our 1961 zoning resolution does not even mention the word composting. And as a result, it has created a fair amount of confusion for communities, commercial, residential, manufacturing. Everybody has a question mark about where it is allowed. And that has stilted our ability to get more composting going in New York City. We don't want that to be the case as an example of zoning just being in the way, or in the case here, because of its silence, creating so much ambiguity that it actually gets in the way. So our hope is by clarifying where and when it is allowed that we will enable more opportunities, and it'll be an invitation for more composting around the city. I'm going to have Niles add anything.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chair, for the question. The proposals, when it comes to composting, does three key things, and we've heard really good things from the organics sector on these changes. First, it clarifies that small-scale composting can be considered an accessory use, and that is a boon to community gardens and to community centers that are seeking to do composting as a sort of complement to their existing program. That change in particular also clarifies that you can accept leaf litter or food scraps from your neighbors, which zoning actually prohibited prior to this change. Second is that neighborhood-focused recycling facilities will be able to locate in commercial districts. That will help support the growth of an ecosystem of neighborhood-centric, neighborhood-scale facilities that can accept recyclables and organics and aggregate them citywide. And then the third is that we're finally adding regulations to clarify how these uses are properly located in manufacturing districts. That applies only to the largest and the most noxious versions of these uses, and that will be a real help, that clarification.
Thank you. I did have one more question. I'm sorry. Community solar initiative. So this is going to allow somebody to sell energy to somebody. Does that go for private residential buildings, or does that just go for like the big buildings or Mitchell-Lama buildings?
It will enable community solar production and storage in ways that today it's just not even a possibility. And I'll let Niles talk about the details here, but we want to be able to allow groups of private interests to come together and to be able to generate energy together and store it together. It's really important for us to move away from, our dirty fossil fuel generating power plants, relying power plants, and so it's opening the door. But Niles will tell you a little more about the detail.
Absolutely, and thank you again, Chair, for the question. If there's any doubt that homeowners can sell their unused energy back into the grid, this proposal will absolutely clarify that. But when it comes to community solar, which is a specific program regulated by the State Public Service Commission and instituted in New York City through the utility, Con Edison, these are facilities that are developed by a co-op of buyers, so energy customers who come together and say, we want to sponsor a clean energy project within our neighborhood. And if the only available sites are perhaps a hospital, a school, a community center in a residential district, that site is off limits for that clean energy project due to zoning currently, and that is precisely what this project and this proposal will address, will allow those facilities.
Thank you. There being no more questions for this applicant panel, council, this panel is excused. Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on the zoning carbon neutrality text amendment proposal remotely or in person? Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Chair Riley, there are approximately 10 people who signed up in person and another 10 people who signed up online. For members of the public here to testify in person, please know that witnesses will be generally called in panels of 3. If you are a member of the public signed up to testify on the proposal, please stand when you hear your name being called and prepare to speak when the chair says that you may begin. Please also note that once all panelists in your group have completed their testimony, if remotely, you will be removed from the meeting as a group, and the next group of speakers will be introduced. Once removed, participants may continue to view the live stream broadcast of this hearing on the council website. One second. We'll take a brief pause. Okay, sorry for the interruption. We were just informed that apparently the National Services alert system is testing its services, and we can say based on this room that it works as everybody's phone went off. So going back to how we're going to testify today. So for the online panelists, I was saying, once removed, participants may continue to view the live stream broadcast of this hearing on the council website. Okay, we're going to pause for 30 seconds again. Okay, hopefully the testing is done. Just one note of clarification about the testimony. We will be alternating for... Okay, hopefully this is truly the final interruption. As I was saying that for the testimony, whether it be online or in person, we will be alternating between testimony in opposition and testimony in favor. We will now hear from the first panel, who is online participant Moshe Bunin.
Members of the public will be given 2 minutes to speak. Please do not begin until the Sergeant at Arms has started the clock. You may begin.
Moshe Bunin, can you hear us? Mr. Moshe, if you are able to hear us, we see that you're online ready to testify. However, you need to accept the request to be a panelist in order to testify. Okay, well, we are going to move to the next panel, and we will come back to Mr. Moshe. The next panel consists of people who are here. So we will come back to Mr. Moshe. The next panel consists of Julia Cassandra, Corey Harrella, and Howard Slatkin. Okay. And is Corey Harrella still present? No. Okay, so then we will just be hearing from Julia Cassandra and Howard Slatkin. Mr. Slatkin, why don't you begin until Mrs. Cassandra appears?
Chair Riley, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Howard Slatkin. I'm the Executive Director of Citizens Housing and Planning Council. I'm pleased that 11 years ago, I was as the first Director of Sustainability for DCP, I testified to the Council about Zone Green, the first time that the city made an effort to implement citywide green zoning text. And I'm very pleased to be here to talk about this project and testify in support of a project that updates and builds on the experience that was built through that prior project. This proposal aligns the essential goals of environmental sustainability and sustaining investment in our buildings, transportation, and energy systems. CHPC has long advocated for zoning and regulatory reform that promotes necessary investment in all segments of our building stock and for eliminating bureaucratic barriers to meeting the needs of New Yorkers. In essence, zoning needs to make it easier to do the right thing for a carbon-neutral future, and this proposal does just that. There are 4 items that highlight in my testimony that are particularly important for residential buildings. The rooftop solar provisions, which will nearly quadruple the solar wattage that a typical rooftop can generate. The creation of a simplified floor area deduction for buildings that achieve the gold standard of energy efficiency of Passive House and enables this standard to be updated by rule as codes and technology evolve. Changes that make it easier to place low-carbon HVAC and other energy equipment on roofs and in yards, which will allow existing and new buildings to decarbonize and electrify, accelerating the electrification of our buildings. And finally, the removal of administrative barriers to the use of permeable pavement, a really important surfacing option that helps reduce stormwater runoff. CHPC advocates for policies that address issues of critical importance to the city and that sweat the details to get them right. We think this proposal does both. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is Julia here? No, we could wait. We'll just add her into a next group, okay? All right.
Okay, then we are going to go back online. We're going to go back online to Moshe Bunin. Is Mr. Bunin available to testify? Okay. Well, Mr. Bunim does not appear to be responding to our invitation for him to testify online. We're going to take a brief pause until the next panel that will consist of Kevin Garcia, Elia Somro,
and James Lloyd. But before you come up, let's just take a 5-minute pause.
Okay, we'll now resume the hearing. The next panel consists of, that is not right. Sorry, 1 second. Julia, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your last name. Thank you. We also have Kevin Garcia, Elia Somro, and James Lloyd. What happened to Julia? Okay. Yes, you may begin.
Great. Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Julia Casagrande, and I am the Deputy Director for Clean Energy at the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice, or MOCEJ. I'm here to testify today on behalf of MOCEJ in support of the City of Yes for Carbon Neutrality zoning resolution and highlight some of the policy priorities the resolution will advance. The city is committed to carbon neutrality by 2050, with more immediate commitments including supporting a 70% renewable grid by 2030 and 100% by 2040. This aligns with the State Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, CLCPA, which sets ambitious renewable energy commitments and defines disadvantaged communities and mandates at least 35% of these investments are funneled into these communities. To ensure that the city and state hit their energy commitments in an equitable way, we must accelerate the deployment of climate infrastructure within the 5 boroughs. City of Yes will do that by removing long-standing zoning barriers for renewable energy, energy storage, electric vehicle charging, and building energy efficiency deployment. This package of amendments also aligns with city commitments in Plan YC, the first climate plan of the Adams administration, released in April, and in Power Up NYC, the city's first long-term energy plan, released last month. My teammates and I would like to commend the New York City Department of Citywide Planning on their thorough community engagement and review process, which involved getting the word out, taking input seriously, and ensuring that climate policy and strategy moves forward equitably. On climate policy alignment, approximately 70% of greenhouse gas emissions in New York City are from buildings, and the city is mobilizing buildings to comply with Local Law 97, which requires most large buildings to meet energy efficiency and greenhouse gas limits by 2024 and 2030 and beyond. Mayor Adams released recently the mobilization plan, Getting 97 Done. The changes proposed in City of Yes will make it easier for buildings to reduce emissions by allowing electrification equipment in more spaces. City properties must also comply with Local Law 97, and because of this, the package will help us hit our own emissions targets and lead by example by decarbonizing our own building stock. City of Yes also advances many of the initiatives in Plan YC in the areas of clean energy, flooding, and transportation. For solar, City of Yes will quadruple the amount of space available in New York City. The city has committed to reach 1,000 megawatts of solar deployment citywide by 2030. Currently, over 470 megawatts of this commitment is complete.
You could start wrapping it up, Julia.
I'm sorry?
You could start wrapping it up.
Okay. We also have a municipal commitment of 100 megawatts on city-owned land by 2025, of which 22 megawatts is deployed, with approximately 50 megawatts in the pipeline. This package will also promote greater permeability and allow for additional types of tree planting, which will reduce the amount of stormwater impacting our streets and sidewalks. To fully support a renewable energy grid, we must accelerate battery storage deployment in the city rapidly, and this proposal will allow for storage deployment in more spaces, which is highly regulated by the FDNY for safety. I'll just go to in conclusion, the City of Yes is core to the city and state's climate change commitments, and New York City has been a global leader on climate change, but our infrastructure must keep pace with the intensifying impacts of climate change. I urge you to vote in favor of this historic piece of legislation. Thank you.
And I would just add that you can submit your full testimony online so that it's in the record.
Next, we have Kevin Garcia.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Garcia. I'm the transportation planner with the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance. Thank you to the committee and the council members for the opportunity to share my comments today. Founded in 1991, the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance is a nonprofit citywide membership network linking grassroots organizations from low-income communities of color and their struggle for environmental justice. NEJA is also a part of the Last Mile Coalition, a citywide coalition working to regulate the last mile warehouses in New York City. While the intention of the City of Yes for carbon neutrality is ambitious and removing zoning barriers to address climate change, these amendments lack the necessary requirements and incentives to address environmental injustice and prioritize equity truly. As it stands, this proposal threatens to widen inequity gaps, allowing certain communities to thrive while leaving others struggling. We understand the city's goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and achieve net zero emissions by 2050, but the New York City Community Air Survey paints a grim picture. The survey indicates that citywide annual average levels of 4 key pollutants have decreased, but certain areas like Newtown Creek in Queens and Brooklyn, near JFK Airport, Sunset Park in Brooklyn, and the Hunts Point in the Bronx are suffocating under the burden of last mile warehouses. These areas, predominantly inhabited by people of color, are experiencing alarmingly high pollution levels. Last mile warehouses, though, are not your typical warehouses. They are demanding an astonishing number of vehicles to meet next day and same day delivery and involve a staggering volume of product loading and unloading, leading to a significant increase in truck trips. However, last mile warehouses are not distinguished from traditional warehouses in the city's zoning resolution and can be constructed as of right in all manufacturing districts and C8 commercial districts. As a result, the city cannot plan for the placement of these facilities, but more importantly, environmental justice communities are directly impacted by the clustering and operation of these facilities. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Next, we will hear from Alia Somro.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Alia Sumro, and I'm the Deputy Director for New York City Policy at the New York League of Conservation Voters. Thank you, Chair Riley and members of the Zoning Subcommittee for the opportunity to testify today in support of city planning, City of Yes for carbon neutrality. I have submitted longer written comments. New York has some of the most ambitious climate laws in the country. In 2016, the city introduced 80 by 50, setting an ambitious target of 80% carbon emission reductions by 2050. In 2019, the state passed the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, a sweeping plan that set a goal of 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 and 85% reduction by 2050. Additionally, in 2019, the city enacted Local Law 97. Yet, New York City's zoning regulations can be a barrier to making necessary green investments that are crucial to meet these greenhouse gas reduction goals, fight climate change, and reduce toxic air pollution. Given the extreme temperatures our planet experienced this summer and the recent flooding last Friday, we believe that City of Yes for carbon neutrality is one necessary tool in our climate mitigation toolbox. This will help our city and state meet our emission reduction goals. It'll reduce air pollution, and enable green facade retrofits, green infrastructure, and more. Since the majority of our city's greenhouse gas emissions come from our buildings, this will help us move away from fossil fuels and ultimately improve air quality, which is a long-standing environmental justice issue that was just mentioned. And we hope that this will improve air quality throughout the city. We appreciate DCP's leadership, engaging stakeholders, DOB, FDNY, LPC, MOCEJ. And I know I am limited on time, but I do just want to emphasize that this zoning proposal doesn't address funding, but we think that there are a lot of funding opportunities at this state and federal level, including the Inflation Reduction Act and the New York State Environmental Bond Act. Just concluding, we really appreciate it, and we hope that the City Council will approve this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we will hear from James Lloyd.
Good afternoon. My name is James Lloyd, Director of Policy for the New York State Association for Affordable Housing, New York's affordable housing industry trade association statewide. Having been previously in those seats as a member of the Land Use Division ending in 2018, I urge you to not give this proposal a haircut as it goes through the Council's review, because some of these aspects of this proposal were actually the minimum that we consider necessary. So for instance, On the elevated solar panels, as you know, the proposal would, instead of 25% of roof coverage, would allow elevated solar over 100%, but only to 15 feet high. We actually want it to be 20 feet high. Obviously, that's out of scope, but please do not cut that down to less than 15 feet in height, and please have it stay over 100% of the roof coverage. Also, we're very strongly in favor of the building retrofits using exterior insulating panels. Often our members will purchase affordable housing that is in disrepair and use city or state funding to preserve it and bring it up to code. However, we really need that change made so you can use this exterior insulation to make that happen, right? And then finally, I just want to say, you know, other members, other council members and other folks testifying have talked about you know, these emissions. Well, you know, right now, if you don't electrify your building, you're burning either natural gas or you're burning number 2 fuel, which is diesel fuel, right? So you're burning diesel fuel to heat your building. And so when we talk about asthma rates across the city and these EJ neighborhoods, you're talking, you're causing asthma through what you're burning to heat those buildings. So I just want us to keep in mind, you know, what is the goal here? It's not just, you know, obviously trying to prevent future 8.5-inch storms, 8.5-inch rainfall storms, but also work on the asthma rates in these neighborhoods. So yes, we urge you to approve this and not give it a haircut along the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the applicant panel for testifying. There being no questions, you guys are excused.
Thank you. The next panel will consist of Madre de Cerbo, Jeff Perlman, and John Wolfing. Please excuse me if I'm mispronouncing your last name. Let's start with Madre de Cerbo. Yes, you press on the button in order to speak.
Okay. Hi, my name is Maddie DeCerbo, and I'm here on behalf of the Real Estate Board of New York. REBNY members have consistently led the way in developing and operating high-performing, efficient buildings, which is why we thank the City Council for the opportunity to testify in support of zoning for carbon neutrality. Zoning for carbon neutrality presents updates to the Zone Green bonus to align it more closely with Local Law 97 and recent energy code revisions, providing a flat 5% exemption for ultra-low energy buildings. However, a potential challenge arises for ongoing development projects that might not have their foundations laid by the time of Zoning for carbon neutrality's adoption, requiring redesigns to accommodate the new calculations. City Planning has included a necessary vesting provision to allow projects that filed an application with the Department of Buildings by the time of text adoption to continue to utilize the Zone Green bonus and receive necessary permits for 1 year post-adoption. REBNY supports this change, but strongly recommends the addition of a grace period of 6 months from the date of adoption for filing. The additional grace period would allow projects that have not yet filed but have significant work completed under the old rules to move forward. This grace period for filing is consistent with practice seen in new building code adoptions by City Council. City Planning also updated the definition of ultra-low energy buildings to better align with new, higher baseline for energy performance required under the Energy Code. The City Council should adopt this change and also clarify the text to include a reference to the proper ASHRAE code section so as to avoid confusion and misapplication of the wrong standard in calculating energy efficiency. REBNY will submit a written copy of this testimony with suggested zoning text language to address these two issues. It's essential to recognize that meeting the aggressive decarbonization targets set by New York City and state leaders requires concrete policy changes such as zoning for carbon neutrality. REBNY strongly supports zoning for carbon neutrality and encourages the City Council to approve the text with the suggested modifications outlined today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Jeff Perlman.
Hi, my name is Jeff Perlman.
Why don't we pause the clock? Let's restart.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jeff Perlman. I'm the founder and chief strategy officer of Bright Power. Bright Power is an 18-year-old New York City-based company with over 150 employees, and we're a leader in providing carbon emissions reducing services to New York City buildings. We have a particular focus on apartment buildings and affordable housing, and worked with over 10,000 buildings and over 500,000 apartment units in New York alone, and we are strongly in support of the City of Yes for carbon neutrality. The City of Yes for carbon neutrality is a vital step to fight climate change across all 5 boroughs. Buildings account for over 70% of our carbon emissions, and the City of Yes is very important for supporting our city's decarbonization transition, including Local Law 97, which you heard about earlier in this hearing. Most of New York City's buildings were built in another era, long before energy efficiency was a priority, and many affordable and public housing developments are in low-lying areas that are particularly susceptible to the climate threats that we're facing. Another thing to point out, New York City is already behind in meeting our solar energy goals, and the proposal to allow 100% of roof area to receive solar panels could increase our solar energy generation threefold, which is a massive step to improving our clean power generation. The City of Yes for carbon neutrality also enables building retrofits with exterior insulating panels, which will reduce the amount of energy needed to heat and cool our buildings. And by putting it on the outside, we reduce disturbances to the residents inside the apartments. The City of Yes for carbon neutrality also expands the quantity of new highly efficient HVAC equipment that can be installed on the roofs and the yards of buildings, as we heard from the Commissioner, and greatly reduces the asthma-causing NOx and SOx that would be emitted from boilers in those situations. And the heat pumps often need to be located outside in roofs and yards, which this proposal allows. So in conclusion, given the existential threat of climate change, we urge City Council to approve the zoning text amendment with no modifications to improve the city and also create more good green jobs in the city as well. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. And finally, we'll hear from John Wolfling.
Great, you pronounced it correctly. Thank you. So my name is John Wolfling. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am a 30-year New York City resident. I am an architect at a mid-sized firm in New York City, and we practice primarily in the city. So I am invested in this city, and I am in support of this proposal. It is the consensus that climate change is the result of human activity. We burn fossil fuels, which release carbon into the atmosphere. Increased carbon dioxide results in the greenhouse effect, which warms the planet. It's simple. This is a problem of our making, and it's our responsibility to try to fix it. The effects of climate change, wildfires, flooding, intense storms, increased cooling demands, all require modifications of public policy. The City of Yes for carbon neutrality is exactly that type of change needed for New York City to continue to be a global leader in sustainable design and environmental justice. The City of Yes for carbon neutrality will help building owners, architects, and government agencies make both new construction and existing buildings more resilient and healthy for residents and communities. As a practicing architect that works on affordable housing projects that incorporate sustainable design principles, I am in support of all of the elements of the proposed design changes. To illustrate the potential good that can come from these changes, I'd like to share a real-world example. A project of mine that was recently completed in East New York, in Brooklyn, 161 units of affordable apartments. We maximized the amount of permitted solar panels that we could put on this project, the 25% cap. If we would have the City of Yes proposal changes in place back then, we could have almost doubled the amount of solar panels on this project. And this is what environmental justice looks like, being able to produce more power on site. I recommend that this be approved in totality. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe Councilmember Shulman has a question for this panel.
So, Jeffrey Perman? Okay, hi. So, I'm Councilmember Shulman. I have a question. So, do you offer your services? I see that you help buildings to comply. You know, it's interesting because as city council members, sometimes we don't know about those services, so I'd love to get you with some of the folks in my district. I have a lot of co-ops and condos and big apartment buildings. So if, I'll have my staff contact you and maybe we can work something out, because one of the things we want to do is to make it easier for people to comply with carbon neutrality.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember. I'd be happy to, and we do work with a lot of co-ops and condos.
Okay, thank you very much.
Piggybacking off that question, do you work with any coalitions of co-ops and condos? Because like I stated, I represent the largest cooperative in the nation, and I feel like they're having a hard time with organizing amongst other cooperatives around New York City. So I would love to also get your information to possibly connect you with them as well.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk with you more about it. We have worked with a lot of Mitchell Lamas, including Masaryk Towers and others, so I'd be happy to talk to you more about Co-op City.
Thank you. This panel is excused. Thank you.
And the final in-person panel will consist of Caroline Harris and Raul Rivera. And just as an announcement for the people online, after this panel, we will switch to online testimony. And that online first panel will consist of Danielle Manley, George Janes, Tim Doubleton, and Cage Selden. But I will call you again once it's ready for you to testify. So now turning to our last in-person panel, starting with Caroline Harris.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today. And my name's Caroline Harris. I'm a partner of Goldman Harris, a land use firm in New York City. I'm representing New Leaf, which is an energy company. If they can, one of their leaders will be testifying later. Time goes quickly. I'm going to make 3, maybe 4 big points. Right now, there is no as-of-right installation of batteries in residential districts. In order to install them now, there's a special permit process that does not address safety. Safety is strictly and well addressed by the Fire Department of New York and the Department of Buildings, both in terms of the quality of the machine, the battery itself, and the siting of the battery on the location. So a special permit process does not enhance safety. All it addresses today is the aesthetic concerns that the council member from Staten Island said was not a major concern. Those aesthetic issues are now being incorporated into the zoning text as requirements. And yes, there could be either voluntarily or through some additions at the council, some more robust aesthetic considerations, but the amendments that the chair of city planning announced today might well address those. The importance of having this be out as of right is that it simplifies the process for installation, which already is a very long lead time. The fire department, building department approval is several years, and the BSA process in addition to that would be at least another year to 2. This really will delay when battery storage can be adopted throughout New York City to meet our energy needs. Finally, I want to say that the proposal or the concept of having a buffer zone would mean, in effect, that no residential district would have battery storage. And we will present a map that shows that with the location of the grid and the residential districts and how 200-foot buffer would prevent battery storage in most neighborhoods. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. And if you have written testimony and that map that you mentioned, it would be helpful to have it as part of the record. Next, we will hear from Raul Rivera.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I have a few points that I want to read, but before so, I don't want to forget. Just want to say that we are against congestion pricing, and we say no to mandation of electric vehicles, and we also want to share a quote when we say humans first, technology second, today, tomorrow, forever. Now, I just want to read a few points. Chair, do you know what cobalt is? Do you know what cobalt is? Okay. 70% of the cobalt is mined in the Congo, in the DRC/Africa. 15 of the 19 cobalt mines are owned by China. It costs over $15,000 to replace a battery in an electric vehicle. That's over 15,000. Little black boys and girls are unable to go to school because these children are being exploited in the name of a green New York City and the climate. New York City is trying to make personal vehicles for all New Yorkers illegal, but not for Uber, not for the rideshare companies. I don't know if you know that. This is about the fourth time we testify about the children in the cobalt in the Congo. They're digging for that cobalt so we could be all electric here. And I'm a native New Yorker. I'm a TLC driver advocate. I was born and raised in this city, but I don't live in a bubble. I know New York is not going to save the planet. We're against congestion pricing. We're against the exploitation of children. So New Yorkers say that we are a green city. That has to be recognized. We told Chair Brooks Powers for the Transportation Committee, and we tell this committee and every committee, and anybody that's willing to listen, you gotta remember the kids, the children of the Congo. Thank you.
Quick question for Mr. Rivera. You said hobo or cobalt?
Cobalt.
Can you spell that for me, please?
C-O-B-A-L-T. It's the main mineral that's needed to make these batteries. I can suggest a good book that came out. There's a documentary coming out. It's called Cobalt Red. The book is already out. The documentary is going to come out. They've been digging for cobalt for over 30 years, but now there's a bigger emphasis on all electric, which I'm for. I love technology. I'm for technology, but we can't put technology ahead of people, and that's what we're doing. We can't even put the climate ahead of people. So we have an excellent climate, but no people. We can't exploit the people of this planet just so we could say that we're green. There's many ways to achieve a cleaner planet without the exploitation of children. I think elected officials throughout this country, even the president of the United States, should know about the cobalt. Again, I'll say it again. There's 19 mines, and 15 are owned by China. 15 are owned by China.
Well, thank you for that information. I'll look into it myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to this panel for testifying today. Your excuse.
Thank you.
We will now switch over to the online testimony, and the first panel, as we were just, I announced a little earlier, is Danielle Manley, George James, Tim Doubleton, Kate Selden, and we will begin with Danielle Manley.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. My name is Danielle Manley. I'm the manager of policy here at Urban Green. I wish I could share my video, but it's not letting me do that. I'm the manager of policy at Urban Green Council. We're a nonprofit based here in New York City dedicated to decarbonizing buildings. Thanks for the opportunity to testify today, and I'm excited to share Urban Green's overwhelming support for the City of Yes for carbon neutrality. Urban Green has worked for over a decade to recommend improvements to the zoning code, including our Green Code Task Force in 2008, Zone Green in 2012, and our Zone Greener report in 2018. Earlier this year, Urban Green convened over 60 building practitioners to provide guidance to DCP on the proposed changes, and their input helped to shape the proposal that's being considered today. Our detailed support is in my written comments, but I'll highlight a few key reasons why Urban Green is supportive of this. First is that climate change is an existential threat to the future of New York City. We need to remove outdated barriers in our zoning code so that we can meet our climate and renewable energy goals, and City of Yes for carbon neutrality will do that. Second is that City of Yes will make it easier for buildings to comply with Local Law 97 by making sure that zoning doesn't stand in the way of performing energy efficiency retrofits, electrifying buildings, and installing solar and battery storage on site. Third, and specifically, the zoning changes will expand our ability to electrify buildings, which is one of the most significant steps for building decarbonization. The changes will increase the size and capacity of heat pumps that are allowed on roofs and in yards. And fourth, as we've heard before, the changes are going to dramatically expand distributed solar across the city, which is incredibly important for meeting our carbon and renewable energy goals and plays a role in Local Law 97 compliance. The City of Yes is going to catalyze energy storage across the city, which is necessary to managing grid demand alongside building electrification. These systems are safe, and as we heard earlier, all installations must still meet the rigorous approval of the fire department and the Department of Buildings. 6, the changes encourage energy efficient building design in 2 key ways. First, it incentivizes a variety of envelope overcladding and recladding projects to meet the latest energy code.
Ms.
And
Manley,
second, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry for interrupting. I'm not sure if you heard your clock, but if you could please wrap up.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry, I'm actually on my last point. And second, it modernizes the Zone Green bonus that worked at the time that it was created, but it's complex and now based on outdated criteria, and we support the simplified bonus structure. And last, we're really supportive of the many other actions that City of Yes is going to facilitate. Thank you for considering our comments today, and we hope that you approve these amendments so that we can keep up our collective momentum for meeting the climate moment.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we'll hear from George Janes.
Yes, thank you. I'm George Janes. I'm an urban planner. I'm not representing any clients today. These are just my own views. First, let me say that there's a lot of good in these amendments. City Council passed Local Laws 97 and 154, and these zoning amendments are basically an implementation of those local laws. This is government working, and that's awesome. But around the edges, there are important items that require modification. I hope that Council is able to clean up some of this text before the changes are finalized, and I will be submitting detailed written comments, but I have a couple of highlights. First, we should not change parts K and L of the definition of the floor area. These items were added in 1979 to stop developers from sealing off existing buildings and then reusing that unused floor area in new buildings. To CPC's credit, they heard comments on this item and made some changes before they sent this text to Council. The version you have is an improvement over what was sent to community boards, but it's a half measure. Council can do better. Number 2, the change in accessory uses is way too broad. I think everyone can support the idea of permitting bike parking and energy infrastructure equipment to span multiple lots like loading and parking does now. And even though CPC changed this text, this section still permits all accessory uses to leave the lot and cross the street. We have a Department of Buildings that in June gave a building permit to a hotel with a 300-foot Coney Island style thrill ride approved as an accessory use. What is an accessory use? Right now, we don't really even know. My point is that broad changes invite unintended consequences. Making this a narrow change addresses bike parking and energy infrastructure equipment the way that it's intended to do and keeps out unintended consequences. Again, I will be submitting written comments with more detail. I appreciate your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we will hear from Tim Doubleton.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is Tim Dumbleton. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Microgrid Networks. So we're a Brooklyn-based developer, owner, and operator of renewable energy facilities. We have 2 completed energy storage facilities in New York, one in Williamsburg and one in Maspeth, Queens, both built with union labor. I'm zooming in from the Brooklyn facility today. Here behind me, you can see the energy storage containers. By the way, there's no cobalt in any of these batteries. The previous speaker was just misinformed. Our Maspeth facility is a few blocks away in Queens. We have a large pipeline of other similar projects we're looking to build in New York City before 2030. I'm here to speak in support of the proposal and also to invite all City Council members to come and visit us and tour one of our facilities. We're aware this is new technology. We're aware it takes time to understand and appreciate why it's important. And we know your staff, constituents likely have questions about why we need to build these projects and how they will benefit everybody. We're glad to show you the facilities and provide answers the best we can. We believe renewable energy can be built and operated safely and equitably, and that a future of carbon-free energy will benefit everyone. We support this proposal because we want to remove zoning as an impediment to that advancement, and we look forward to being part of this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final online panelist for this panel is Kate Selden.
Hi, my name is Kate Selden, and I'm the policy manager at Solar One. We're a nonprofit that expands access to solar by providing solar technical assistance to co-ops and condos, affordable housing, and community groups pursuing solar projects. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in strong support of the City of Yes for carbon neutrality. Approving the full proposal will play a pivotal role in modernizing our zoning code and reducing carbon emissions from New York City's buildings, which currently account for over 2/3 of our overall emissions. These changes are essential to reaching our city's decarbonization goals, mitigating the impacts of the climate crisis, and advancing climate justice in New York. Solar One especially endorses the changes that would allow for solar canopies up to 15 feet in height, covering 100% of the roof area in all districts. As we heard earlier, New York City has to more than double its current solar capacity to meet our targets by 2030. In our work with building owners, we see that existing zoning restrictions limit the size and height of solar canopies allowed in many districts, often making it economically infeasible or too logistically challenging to go solar at all. Building owners need more flexibility, which is at a minimum 15 feet, so that it is cost effective to build tall solar arrays that leave ample room underneath for important fire department pathways, HVAC and electrification equipment, as well as tenant space. Additionally, the zoning proposal would allow standalone solar and storage systems in residential districts on underutilized open spaces like parking and empty lots. Freeing up these spaces for solar and storage can increase the availability of community solar, which is a key strategy to make solar accessible to low-income residents and renters across the city. And increasing standalone storage capacity within the city safely will also help reduce the strain on our grid and reduce the need for peaker plants. Solar is just one element of the broader decarbonization puzzle, and we also support aspects that make it easier to retrofit buildings with exterior insulation and the provisions that would encourage more efficient electric heating and cooling systems by allowing them to be placed on roofs and yards. Reducing barriers so that boilers are replaced with clean alternatives like heat pumps is vital.
Expired.
Stock. Almost done.
Okay.
Oh.
Please wrap up.
Okay, the current climate crisis requires bold action, and New York City must set a national example by modernizing our zoning code for decarbonization. And so for the above reasons, we urge the council to approve the zoning text amendment, and we ask that the council not modify the proposal or diminish its impact. Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions for this panel.
Okay. Before we call the next online panel, which will consist of Bria Donahue, Adam Roberts, Corina Solis, and Israel Peskowitz, we are joined here today by the Bronx Borough President, Gibson, and who I believe would like to testify on this exciting proposal. So.
Good afternoon. Feels good to be back visiting. Good afternoon, Chair Kevin Riley, Councilmember Lynn Schulman, and certainly members of the Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchises. I am Bronx Borough President Vanessa L. Gibson, and I'm honored to be here to submit official testimony on behalf of our great borough for a City of Yes carbon neutrality citywide text. I am joined here by my A-team, Jatan Hortzman, who is our Director of Planning and Development for the Office of the Bronx Borough President. And I said, since I'm in the area, let me stop by and visit my friends and colleagues here at City Hall. So I want to thank you again, Chair Riley, and the members of the subcommittee for hearing our testimony this afternoon. I first want to start by acknowledging our DCP Chair, former colleague Dan Garodnick, the City Planning Commission, and the entire carbon neutrality team at City Planning for looking to really improve and remove impediments in the zoning text that limit our city's ability to use renewable energy much more broadly. The zoning for carbon neutrality proposal, we believe, will help to promote renewable energy infrastructure and reduce greenhouse gas emissions by allowing for building retrofitting, creating options for additional solar panels and electric vehicle charging stations, allowing for wind energy, and providing additional energy storage systems, just to name a few. In our strategic policy statement that we released last September, we identified rooftops as one of the most underutilized spaces in our city. I'm very pleased to see the expansion of rooftop uses that will truly benefit clean energy production. I've made my recommendations in recent ULURPs that can't be achieved until these new regulations go into effect. such as recommending that several parking spaces where EV spaces in the recent 521 East Tremont rezoning application, that's Councilmember Oswald Feliz, and I am pleased that this proposal will allow them the as of right. Our city has also passed a number of local laws in recent years during my time in the city council as well, including laws that I've supported, and through these proposed zoning modifications, it will really remove existing restrictions that are hindering the ability of New Yorkers to meet these new local laws, will help enable our city to achieve clean energy goals, and will also help ensure the long-term health of many of our neighborhoods. In my recommendation to the CPC, the City Planning Commission, I did have two conditions that I wanted to share with you today. The biggest concern that we have is ensuring fire safety and that fire prevention and education measures are taken. I am aware that city planning is working with the Department of Buildings and the FDNY to ensure safeguards are tied to these approvals, but we have to get it right to ensure that residents are protected. As we know, we've seen an increase in lithium-ion batteries that have been known to cause many fires. And this goes not just for vehicle charging stations, but any type of charging stations, including for e-bikes, e-scooters, and any other electronic device. After submitting my recommendation, I talked to some practitioners who had concerns with the 10,000 square foot threshold for energy storage systems. While I recognize that this threshold makes sense for most normal sized lots, for the larger lots, this size threshold has problems. I would propose a modification as it is a 10,000 square foot threshold, or up to 50% of the lot coverage, whichever is the greater number, to ensure the greatest amount of coverage is based on a lot threshold. This would result in several projects that I'm aware of no longer being required to go to the BSA that are planned on larger lots. It is noted that adding this option for larger lots was out of scope with the project, but I do believe it is something that should be considered in the future. And as you all know, with the implementation of Local Law 97 coming up, these new regulations are really necessary to help buildings meet the city's climate mandates. So I thank you for your time this afternoon, and overall, I commend this proposal, and as the Borough President, I look forward to working with our Speaker, Adrian Adams, as well as all of the members of the City Council, to seeing our building owners and developers really utilizing these new regulations for the benefit of all New Yorkers. Thank you so much for your time today. It's good to be back.
We're glad to have you back, Madam Borough President. It's so a great feeling to know that the Bronx is being led by someone of your caliber. We know that this proposal is going to have a great impact on the Bronx, especially when it comes to the quality of life issues that we're already going against. So I'm just happy to hear that you're here and you gave these wonderful amendments, and we'll definitely be looking into them as well. And I know Councilmember Shulman had a question for you.
Okay.
Yes, and I want to say that I'll speak on behalf of Kevin too, that we're two of your biggest fans. So I just curious because Councilmember Riley spoke earlier about Co-op City. Is there anything that that your office is doing in particular to help certain big complexes meet the goals of this program?
I'll start and then I'll turn it over to my planning director, but that's a great question. And it's something that my team and I are constantly looking at. We've been able to meet with many of our co-op boards, including Co-op City, Concourse Village, places like Jamie Towers, Cannon Towers, Amalgamated Houses, I can go on. And what we found is that many of them are not necessarily ready for Local Law 97 compliance, and there really is an urgent need to do more around education. Education and outreach. And I think we as a city, since it is a mandate, we really have to look at some level of financial assistance that we could potentially provide for some of our larger scale buildings. Obviously, there will be some eligibility and guidelines that we have to follow because everyone may not be able to meet the demand. But the importance for us is education and outreach and really talking to the co-op boards on the ground about what is happening, because we're already hearing some concerns, and I've seen some of our colleagues hosting events in partnership with city agencies on Local Law 97 compliance. So it's something that is on our radar, and I'll turn it over to my planning director.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I mean, I really think the borough president said it right. I'd echo what she said. One, having the conversations with the co-op board, seeing what they need to meet these local laws, but then also making sure that there's the support there from the city and everyone else. We recognize that co-ops are a little bit different, but also making sure that they still have the same resources and support that they're going to need.
No, I appreciate that because I have particularly, and I think it's the same thing in the Bronx as Queens, there are older adults that have co-ops or own small, apartments or whatever. So that's very important. And the other thing I wanted to ask, if you have any suggestions for legislation that would help with this, I mean, we're very open to hearing that. So please let us know.
Definitely. Working with my planning team, we also have a policy unit as well, so we can have conversations offline about potentially what legislation could be introduced. But I also think it's important for us as a city to collaborate with our partners at the state level, because many of our co-ops are overseen by the state, DHCR, now known as HCR, Homes and Community Renewal, and we've met with Commissioner Ruth Ann Wisniewskis and her team around the local law compliance and what support the state can potentially provide for us. So it would be great if we're not having those conversations to begin now. The state, Commissioner Adolfo Carrion from HPD, to make sure that there is some synergy, because what I don't want to happen is when we get closer to compliance, that city HPD developments are given attention and then we forget about all the others. And we're all in the same communities, and there should be no difference whether you're overseen by the state or the city. So I would love to see that happen, and I would love to work with the city council in building that out.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Absolutely.
you, Madam VP, for your leadership. And just for the record, Madam VP has been a great partner, especially in the Northeast Bronx, to the Co-op City section. So we're looking forward to continuing that partnership and collaboration. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we will return now to the online testimonials. So the last panel, again, it consists of Bria Donahue, Adam Roberts, Corina Solis, and if you are present, Israel Peskowitz. And we will start by hearing from Bria Donahue.
Thank you, Chair Riley and members of the subcommittee on zoning and franchises for holding this hearing today. I am Bria Donahue, Government Affairs Manager at AAA New York. We represent architects and design professionals committed to positively impacting the physical and social qualities of our city. AAA in New York strongly supports Mayor Adams' proposed citywide zoning text amendment, City of Yes for carbon neutrality. The proposal makes critical updates to the city's zoning regulations and helps us meet our emission reduction goals and remove existing barriers and expand opportunities for decarbonization projects. While AAA in New York strongly supports the zoning text amendment, we urge the council to make adjustments to the proposal to Proposal 8 to fix Zone Green. We support the goals laid out to create more ultra-low energy buildings in the city. However, the proposal's language has raised concerns regarding the feasibility of the targets outlined. AA in New York makes the following recommendations with the purpose of adding more nuance so that the goals are ambitious, achievable, and specific to various building typologies. First, we recommend you reconsider a 50% reduction from the ASHRAE 90.1. Instead, consider setting a very progressive yet potentially achievable reduction factor, or adopting a tiered approach for energy reduction, such as a 30% reduction for 3% area exclusion and a 50% reduction for a 5% area exclusion. Second, amend EUI language from 38 kBTU source EUI to 38 kBTU site EUI. Consider EUI targets specific to building use, as energy will differ significantly amongst different building uses. These targets can be similar to goals and thresholds set by other local laws. Third, we recommend you establish an expert group to review and refine ultra-low energy building criteria. Without these changes, today's most progressive design will not be able to achieve the current performance standards in Proposal 8 for most building typologies. These will result in a net worsening of energy performance, since Zone Green incentives will effectively disappear, leaving practitioners with little motivation to strive towards the outreach current definitions of ultra-low buildings. City of Yes for carbon neutrality will be essential in meeting our climate targets, decarbonizing building stock, deploying renewables, and enabling New Yorkers to access a wide variety of low-carbon transportation options. We urge the City Council to pass the proposed text amendment with the recommended changes to Proposal 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anahu, and it would be helpful if we received your testimony in writing in relation
Yes,
to
I've
the
submitted it
specific
for the record.
references you
Thank
made.
you.
Thank you. And next we'll hear from Adam Roberts.
Thank you for holding this hearing today. I am Adam Roberts, Policy Director for the Community Housing Improvement Program, also known as CHIP. We represent New York's housing providers, including apartment building owners and managers. We are here to strongly support the Zoning for Carbon Neutrality text amendment. This text amendment is critical to ensuring our city's apartment buildings are more sustainable. Electrification, facade replacement, and other sustainable design measures are often needed to comply with Local Law 97. Yet these sustainability measures have many regulatory barriers to implementation, which this text amendment removes. Crucially, the text amendment should ease electrification of apartment buildings. It does so by allowing for expanded installation of solar panels on roofs, use of battery energy storage systems, and easy replacement of heat pumps on roofs and in yards. In the future, we hope the council and mayor work together to expand eligibility for the installation of battery energy storage systems as they become more fire resistant. Regarding facades, the text amendment should allow for the more effective recladding of apartment buildings. By removing penalties for adding insulation and expanding the size of a building envelope, it allows for buildings to better retain heat in the winter and cold air in the summer. Widespread electrification and facade replacement for the city's apartment buildings will have major benefits. They will reduce maintenance costs, mitigate the risk of gas fires, and improve thermal comfort. These changes will positively impact building owners, building workers, and tenants alike. Again, thank you to the Mayor's Office for drafting this text amendment and to the Council for holding this hearing.
Thank you for your testimony. And next we will hear from Karina Solis.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Karina Solis, and I'm a project developer at New Leaf Energy. New Leaf is a renewable energy development company, and I personally have been developing utility scale battery energy storage projects in New York City for over 6 years. The storage of energy is crucial to providing energy from multiple renewable energy sources, including wind and solar. These systems connect to the utility grid, storing excess electricity during low use periods and releasing that energy to local residents and businesses during high peak periods to avoid power outages. For residential neighborhoods to benefit from the resiliency that energy storage adds to the grid, those systems need to be located on a property that is on the same grid and nearby to that residential area. We support the proposed City of Yes for Carbon Neutrality tax that makes small scale systems in residential and in commercial districts as of right. One as of right battery energy storage system in a residential zone would serve approximately 4,000 surrounding homes. We appreciate that the many concerns of opponents regarding neighborhood impacts and encourage the adoption of the screening requirements that are included in this zoning text amendment that would enable these sites to be compatible with adjacent residential and commercial uses. Under the current zoning framework that requires a special permit from the BSA, rigorous administrative review from FDNY and DOB, and the discretionary review all takes about 3 to 4 years currently. That's too long to wait for battery energy storage to benefit your constituents. Such a delay hampers the city's ability to rapidly adopt renewable energy installations where energy storage is needed most. Is that time?
Yes, but you can wrap up if you have a couple more sentences.
Thank you. So I was just going to say that FDNY's nationally respected and rigorous review of each model of battery and each site can take several years on its own, and the zoning text will not shortcut it. Unlike what's used in e-bikes, these systems contain monitoring, control equipment, safety systems that are all reviewed by multiple expert teams prior to permit approval. And we believe that the City Council and New York City residents can rely on this as a rigorous review for every system in their neighborhoods. Thank you for the consideration of my testimony. I urge you to please adopt the City of Yes for Carbon Neutrality text with no modifications.
Thank you. And finally, we will hear from Israel Peskowitz. Is Israel Pescois present?
Hello?
Hello, yes, you may testify.
Israel, if you could hear us, you may begin. Israel, if you can hear us, you may begin.
Hi, I did not ask to testify. I'm just listening, but thank you very much. I appreciate the attention.
Oh, thank you for listening.
I am just a concerned citizen.
Thank you. If there are any members of the public who wish to testify regarding the City of Yes zoning for carbon neutrality proposal remotely, please press the raise hand button now, or if in person, please identify yourself to one of the sergeant-at-arms. The meeting will stand at ease while we check for any newly registered members of the public.
I just want to excuse the last panel because we didn't have any questions for them. Thank you. There being no other members of the public who wish to testify on this pre-considered LU relating to the City of Yes zoning for carbon neutrality proposal, the public hearing is now closed and the item is laid over. That concludes today's business. I would like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues, especially Councilmember Schoen for sticking by, the Department of City Planning, Subcommittee Council, Land Use, and other council staff, and especially the Sergeant at Arms for your hard work today, for participating in today's meeting. The meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone.